SGA is leading the NBA in steals per game with 2.2, and it's crazy because he's never been a great defender. But I'm about to show you 3 ways he's able to rack up steals and how you can add it to your defensive bag to make you an elite defender. The first thing he does really well is just taking advantage of bad ball handlers. And this is something that I think a lot of people do wrong, because when they get switched onto a bad ball handler or they're defending a bad ball handler for an entire game, they think they can just spam and reach all game long and think that's considered great defense. But what Shai does, he's able to time it perfectly, because he knows as a bad ball handler, you will make a mistake, right? You will make a mistake, and he's great at timing it and predicting it, right? He's able to pick up players' rhythms, like the steal on Jaren Jackson Jr. Bad ball handlers or less talented ball handlers or skilled ball handlers, they play at one rhythm and at one pace, so it's way easier to time it, right? But if you're guarding someone like Kyrie and he's able to switch his pace and rhythm up, it's a lot harder to try to pickpocket Kyrie Irving or Steph Curry or even SGA himself, right? But Jaren Jackson Jr., he's playing at one pace. He's just running down the court, driving down the lane, and just dribbling at one pace. He didn't throw a speed of change in there. He didn't do any type of stop, any type of bump, anything. It's just a smooth, direct line. And SGA was able to time it. So, like I said, bad ball handlers, they make mistakes. And if you've ever guarded a bad ball handler, whether it was your little brother or sister or whatever, they like float the ball of like way too long, right? Hopefully y'all get what I'm saying. They always float the ball a little too long on drives or when they're stationary. So that little window gives you an opportunity to poke the ball away. The next way he's able to get steals is something I call the cleanup steal, right? And this is just basically recovering a loose ball on the defensive end. And yes, defensive loose balls, they actually count as steals if you recover them. And he's actually 6th in the NBA in doing this, right? 6th in the NBA in defensive loose balls recovered per game. So he gets a good amount of steals from this. And this is the definition of being in the right place at the right time, right? So if you're one of those defenders who, even when you're off the ball, you love to just be lackadaisical, don't give effort, you just stick to your man and don't worry about the other side of the court, then you're missing out on a lot of opportunities. Because what he's able to do, he's able to always be in the play, right? You see Zion driving, he's on the opposite end, but he's shrinking the floor. And just by him shrinking the floor and getting into the play, he's able to come away with the steal, right? He does this a lot, right? And these are steals that you can't get if you're just out of the play for good. You're not trying to help. You're not trying to stunt and recover. You're not trying to be active off the ball. You can't get these type of steals. And these steals can easily add like 1 extra steal per game if you do this, especially with bad ball handlers are driving or they're in the post and they're trying to do these fancy moves and they end up losing the ball. If you recover that ball, that is a steal on your end. The last strategy we're going to cover that he uses to get a lot of steals is something I call the back tap steal, right? And this is where he comes up from behind and pokes the ball free, right? And this is a very risky attempt to get a steal. Very risky. Personally, I've tried to use this steal technique in an actual game scenario, and it's almost rare that I'm able to pull it off on a consistent basis because the timing has to be perfect. But after studying SGA and a lot of other players who use this technique a lot, I found out that they really only reach when the ball is on its way up. So if you watch the clip in the background or the clips in the background, you can see he only reaches when the ball is on its way up into his hands. And this is because this is the best time to reach for it, right? The best time, because the ball is stationary for a split second. It's stationary inside the offensive player's hands, or like sticking to it, right? So that is the perfect time to get it, you know. But on the other side, if he was to reach while it was on its way down, that's a lot harder because you have to be a lot more precise, right? There's a lot more room for error because if the ball is on its way down, if you can either miss up or you can miss down, right? And also they have a lot more control. But when it's on its way up, especially when it's in their hands connected, it's a lot less room for error. But that'll be all for today's video. Hopefully these 3 defensive tips from SGA to get more steals really benefited y'all on the court. And me personally, I really don't like telling players to reach for steals or go for steals because I'd much rather you just stay in front of your man and lock him down that way and don't gamble and risk picking up cheap fouls. But as I've shown you today, if you go about it the right way, you can excel at going for steals. Like I said, if you do it the right way, like you've seen in this video. Let me know what other defensive videos y'all want, and I'll make sure I get it out to y'all.